morning. So if you look, okay, I think this still hear me? Yes. Okay. So based on our progress, the program C, the first thing I should remind you is our research survey due time is end of 12th week, is the Sunday. Okay. So make sure you get your research survey, done and submit on the web. So one thing I should remind you is the research survey needs two items. One is your survey report. Another is a set of slides. Okay. A set of slides mainly is if the TA selected your research survey report as a class presentation, so he or she basically can see what is expected in the class presentation. Another thing is your survey report will help everybody to read, including TA to grade it. If you look at your slides, they basically know what you're doing instead of reading the very details. The first see your scope, the completeness or comprehensiveness, then it decides how to read the details. Essentially, as you give an outline, other people can read it in detail. That's why we require you to hand in one survey report, which is user generated in PDF. The other one is PPT slides. Of course, you can generate as a PDF form as well. Okay. So your submission contains two files. Okay. Then if you submit a group report, remember you only submit one. Instead of you got three people as a group, you submit three. The TA actually did not know we have different TAs. They may grade you several times. Okay, that'll waste everybody's time. Okay, so make sure you submit online. If you say I don't want TA to miss, you can just submit an empty one. Say see whose submission. That's also fine. Okay, is that clear? So any further discussion or questions on the Sunday night, the report? Okay. I did see somebody in Piazza said he did not know how to write a report, a survey report. Of course, there are lots of surveys floating on the web. You can download anyone, you can read it. But if you really have problems, come to see me during my office hours. Okay. We can discuss to see how to do it. The general philosophy is survey is not it's not a copy and paste. Okay, you need to write, you need to read it, summarize it in a very organized way using your own language, your own words, and you really want to digest it. Okay, then you read a narrow focus which very much related to your research report, your research project. Okay. Then you try to digest surrounding materials. Then you say, oh, for my research on this one, I survey on this topic. For this topic, how many different studies, what they cover, how they cover it, what are the major issues. Okay. Then you probably see you put different research papers in the right place. Okay. Then finally, you can summarize the whole thing. That means you give me a topic just to say, currently we have, suppose, stream data mining. Okay, of course, this one we already did a survey in class. But if you try to write a survey, suppose on stream data mining, you can say why you want to do stream data mining and how are the previous studies on stream data mining. And you can partition them into, say, try to do summary in the data cube form, try to do frequent pattern, try to do classification, try to do outlier analysis or clustering. And you can say, for example, for clustering methods, how many people studied what are the differences. So you give a very organized report. Okay. It clears your mind. It helps everybody. Okay. Actually, good survey, a lot of people like to read it because you read one survey, somehow it's equivalent to read like 10 or 15 papers. And also you have a higher level view on different people, their research work fall into the right place. Okay, so it's very important. Another thing about our final, the second midterm exam and the final project, okay, you probably see it's closer to the end of the semester, so everything is due. Okay, our midterm exam number 2 is on April 28th, okay, which is a Thursday. That's the same time, the same hour. We start on the like a 9:20 or something. We give you 90 minutes. Okay, and then the project presentation. Okay, so likely starting next lecture, I'm going to distribute the registration, or you mean when you are going to do your report. The time actually is pretty tight in the sense we have very limited time slots, very fixed time slots for everybody. So we try to make sure your report, because sometimes we are not sure whether you do individual ones or you do group ones. We may give one round, then we see how many slots, whether it can fill up. Then if we need more slots, we can open more time slots. Okay, but likely next lecture, I'm going to distribute your time booking. Okay, so that's about the final project. Okay. One thing is some student got a little panic, said they may or may not be able to finish the final project. Okay. If you really have problem to finish final project, you should discuss with me earlier. Okay. If you really got in trouble, we can discuss. I can give you some extension. Then you don't have the report. Okay. But if you got something very big, very excited, and you really want to delay, that's also possible. Okay. But you have to discuss with me, get my permission, rather than you just say, I just missed the last one. Because if you did not get a permission, you did not hand in, we count as 0 point. But you got a permission, then we can say your course is not complete. You may complete in the summer. Okay, that's possible. Okay, so we are going to continue our discussion on mining data streams. Last time we discussed the mining data stream in a summary form, like a data queue. Okay. Then this time we're going to discuss the frequent pattern analysis. Okay. Last time we got in said that the frequent pattern is needed just because you want to get the statistics, say which item, even for the router, like which IP address or which particular one is frequent. You think it's important to know it in a dynamic way, in a data stream way. Okay. And we also know there are so many items. Even you think a router, all these the IP addresses is really, really big. If you really want to get all the concrete counts, you may not even have enough memory space to store everything in a data stream fashion. Okay. So then what we say is with limited memory, you probably just want to get approximate count instead of concrete count. Okay. Just because the very frequent one, you probably want to register them. If something only occur once or twice, maybe you miss them, finally report them, maybe okay. But usually people want to say, I want to get approximate count as accurate as possible. In the sense, my error is as little as possible. That means I set up a bound. Say I can allow finally report to me is 99% are accurate. It's only 1% is somehow I missed or miscounted. And whether we can get a good answer with very limited memory. Okay. So that one, the first or very popularly cited algorithm is by Manku and Modwani, published in 2002, called lossy counting algorithm. Okay. Let's give you the general philosophy on what is lossy counting. Okay. So let's just look at this data stream. Okay. You can assume these are all the messages or the items, or you can think in the internet transmission buckets. Okay. They come in and go in the data stream way, flowing in very fast. Okay. And you want to register the count. Okay. That means the frequent counts will show up like a frequent IP address and how much they pass through. You want to show it. Okay. But because you have a very limited memory, okay, suppose you are the watchdog, sitting there, but you have a very limited memory. The internet, the data flow is unlimited. It's very fast. Okay. And then how can we use very limited memory? We call a bucket. Okay. The bucket just to have the size. For example, the size could be 1,000. Of course, nowadays you can easily say, oh, I got 1 million. Okay. 1 million or 1,000 is a fixed number. Okay, we just take 1,000 as an example to explain the whole algorithm. Okay. Suppose I got 1,000 slots to store the ID and the count. Okay, you're thinking about you have the ID. We use a color representing ID. That means if this address or this you can think it's a bucket. There's an ID. The message has ID, has a count. Count like come here once or come here twice. So you have a count. Okay. Let's look at you have bucket 1, 2, 3, 4. In that way. Suppose the data flow in this direction. Okay. That means the bucket 1 comes first. Okay. Then, because your memory has a fixed size, suppose it's 1,000, you can only hold at most 1,000 buckets, right? Because otherwise, the memory, they come so quick, you have to throw away something to get the bucket to count the new things. Okay. Suppose we got the bucket 1 came, we can count. For example, you can think about the red one actually comes quite frequent. You can see in bucket 1, the red break comes 4 times, right? The yellow one comes twice, okay? Or something like the black one only comes once. Okay. You want to register them. That means when the bucket comes, okay, at the very beginning, you say everybody has a slot, has a count. Okay. If the red bucket comes here, you have 4 times I count. The red is 4. Okay. Then the yellow, you say 2 times, yellow is 2. Okay. If the blue is once, you say 1. Okay. So that's very simple. Okay. In that sense, you probably will not even need 1,000, but in case this 1,000, everybody is distinct, you do need 1,000 slot, right? If they are not distinct, like a bucket, the red bucket comes 4 times, you actually use 1 slot to just register number 4. That's it, right? So you actually save something. But if you just have 1,000, you take 1,000 in, you do the counting, okay? But the next 1,000 is going to come. Okay. How you only have 1,000 slot. How you do it? Okay. So that's what their algorithm design. The algorithm design said, I only have 1 slot. I cannot expand. But I have to get a new one come in. I have to store them. But how I store them? I have to throw away something, right? But if I threw away everything, I actually lost the previous one. Then I can only register the current count. I will forget the previous one. That's not my purpose, because I have 1 million things come in. I really, really want to say I can approximately get frequent patterns for this 1 million instead of just 1,000. But how can I do it? Okay. You look at the picture. Anybody can say how Monwani, their algorithm, do it? Just to watch the picture, how can you figure out? Yes. 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 That's great. Yeah. Actually, the algorithm is you decrease the count for every break. You decrease the count by 1. Okay. Then you will have capacity to take the new 1,000 breaks in. Why? Okay. You think about this. You decrease by 1. If originally, like those black and blue, all these things only came 1, you decrease by 1, they're all gone. Okay. Then you come different ID. They could be black, could be blue, could be other color you never seen. But since you decrease by 1, the single one, they're all gone. You leave the space for all the others coming. Okay. Then you probably say, wait. Okay. If I come here, okay, there's something coming. For example, you get 1,000 all different colors, even different from red and yellow, whether you have space to store it. Okay. Remember, if they come only as a single one, they will be gone by the next block as well, so you don't have to worry about it. Right? But if they come as 2 or 3, they will be stored. If they come the same as red and the yellow, you don't need a space. You just increase the number by 1, right? Or by more. So that's the reason you think about this. You will be able to store, to get another 1,000 come in, you will be able to just use this 1,000 slot to store every count needed. Of course, you throw away something. Okay. So you probably can see the second time this bucket came has another 1,000 slot, okay, 1,000 bricks. Now you probably can see this originally you have 4 red bricks. No, because you decrease by 1, it becomes 3. You have 2 yellows, it becomes 1. Now you get a new red and the yellow, you will come down again, you will get it again. But remember, now you have 2 blacks. At the end of this bucket, you get 1 black. Okay? What's the purpose of it? Anybody can explain why this is an interesting algorithm? Definitely you missed something, right? Why this one is still interesting? You throw away a lot of things, but you did keep something. Why this one is interesting? Why this lossy counting? They lose so many things, they still claim this is very interesting. Okay. Now I just immediately give you his claim. Then later we can go back and verify it. Okay. The claim is this. The claim is, he claimed I get all the frequent counts except, there's the count, the support count will be a little different from the real count. And how much different? Okay. So the difference is this sigma is your support threshold. Suppose you said if 5% if this red break is 5% or 3% over all things is a frequent item, this red break will show up. Okay. Not only will it show up, it also will show up in almost the right count, except the count get a little low. Of course, it will get a little low because the red, every round comes, the red will be decreased by 1. Okay, you come more red, the decrease by 1 again. Okay, it will decrease something. But the nice thing is he claims the decrease is very minimal. For example, if this one is, say, 5%, okay, this epsilon is 1 over 1,000 is 0.1%. That means I actually got in every time I reduce the count. But finally, I still claim I got something quite accurate. Why something accurate? You can see the accurate is, if this one is epsilon, you actually only got 0.1% miscounted at most. Okay, let's get this. We go back again. Okay. Now I treat this epsilon more seriously. Okay. That means you originally said, I want my error rate is at most 0.1%. Okay. This looks like a pretty rigid rate requirement. Okay. And what he claims is, if you want your error rate, epsilon, to be at most 0.1%, your bucket size should be 1,000. You can see this is 1 over epsilon. Epsilon is 0.1%. 1 over 0.1% is 1,000. That means your memory size really should have 1,000. Okay. If your memory size, your bucket size, is not 1,000, I cannot guarantee your error rate. Okay. Now you say, I even want to be more accurate. Okay. Your 0.1% is too much. I want 0.01%. What is your bucket size? 10,000, right? So it's very easy. And actually, for your laptop, you say 10,000 bucket is nothing, right? That's the reason even he reduces, miscounted. He claimed if you have 1 million, say, we just say megabytes, okay? Suppose you got 4 megabytes memory, your bucket ID plus number, you just take 4 bytes, okay? So your megabyte, your 1 million will guarantee this epsilon is 1 over a million. So that means even based on his algorithm, he reduced something, he lost a really, really small number. Okay. And that's the worst case. Why? Why he just to give you this algorithm and claim so big claims that even the worst case you only miss 1 over 1,000 or 1 over a million if you have a bigger buffer. Let's look at the math. The math is very simple. You can go back and think about it. It's a very simple but a very smart algorithm. Okay. Let's look at how he calculates this error. Okay. Actually, this error, this whole derivation is just this part. It's very short, but very convincing. Okay. Let's look at why this magic, this genius mathematician, okay, can give you this very simple algorithm with so rigid bound. Okay. Let's look at this. Suppose you get n, the n could be a very big number. Okay, you get n number coming in. Your bucket size is 1 over epsilon. That's what we already know. If you want 0.1, your bucket size should be 1,000, right? Then the counting error. That means finally things still left in your bucket, you can count it. Okay? You can count it, definitely you missed something. Okay? How much you missed? Remember, each time you only reduce by 1. So you have that number of bucket. In the worst case, you will reduce the count by these number of buckets. Is that clear? Suppose I came 10 buckets. Remember, each time I came 1 bucket, I reduce the count by 1. Across the board, I reduce count by 1. If you come 10 times, I reduce by 10. But that's the worst case. What is best case? Best case may be reduce nothing or reduce just by 1, right? You think about this. Okay, I give you what is the best case. Okay. Suppose, okay, you can see here bucket 1 has no pink one. And there's no pink one, there's no pink one, there's no pink one. Suppose the very last end, the pink one all came. You get a 1,000 pink one, you come. Okay. That time, the pink break will have a count is 1,000. You do not miss anything, right? So that's why the best case, you do not miss anything. The worst case, what is worst case? The worst case is the first time comes a red, you take out 1. The second time comes a red, you take out another 1. The third time you take another 1. Then all the 10 times come, you take the red one 10 times. That's the maximum time you take the count, right? So that's the reason his algorithm, he can claim, you can see, what is the claim? The claim is number of buckets is the worst case you are going to lose, right? Because you come 10 buckets, you lose 10 times. You deduce by 10 is the worst case, right? Because the red one, the first time came, it's already on the stack. Every time come red, every time come a bucket, red reduced by 1, red reduced by 1. So the worst case is number of buckets, right? So now you can see this is the number of buckets is your worst case, and we count what is the worst case. Worst case is n, your whole length of your stream, divided by bucket size. Right? That's the number of buckets you will get. Right? The total is supposed to get 1 million. Okay, your bucket size is 1,000. So total number of buckets is 1,000 buckets. Million divided by 1,000. Right? So this is the number of buckets or the error, the absolute error you'll get. Okay. Then this one we already know the number, the bucket size is 1 over epsilon. That's why n divided by 1 over epsilon, you get epsilon times n. That's the worst time you are going to get. Okay. So now you can see that's why he claimed when you report the frequent count, the worst case you report wrong is sigma minus epsilon times n. And this epsilon usually is very small, like 1 over 1,000 or 1 over 1,000,000, depends on your size of your main memory, right? So this one, even you think about you have limited memory, you have almost unlimited size of your data stream coming. He got all the frequent counts. So that's why he actually guarantees 3 things. The algorithm guarantees 3 things. One is no false negatives. That means if he did not claim this one is frequent, it definitely is not frequent. No false negatives. The false positive have 2 frequency counts, at least this, because this is the one you are going to report. The frequency count underestimated by at most epsilon times n. These 3 things are clear? Hopefully, okay. If you do not feel quite clear, you can go back and read it. Okay. This algorithm is so simple, but so good guarantee. You can think about it. Now you have a million, size of buckets. You can get 1 over 1,000,000. That's your error rate. Okay. So it's still very accurate. So this algorithm published in the VRDB 2002, they were invited to Journal of ACM, just this counting algorithm. It's so simple, but it's so amazingly good. So you probably can see it's, of course, I only spent 10 minutes to explain it, but to get this, actually, you need some thinking, right? So it's not, you generate a JACM paper may not be that hard, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's an interesting suggestion. The suggestion says why you don't keep two buckets, right? Because you have one bucket, you have another bucket. If you watch the bucket is going to come, you are not going to deduce, right? Of course, you can improve. This one is under the assumption your memory is so limited, you just can't hold that many buckets. Okay, but there is another algorithm after this. Okay, there's another. I probably should give you this one. Okay, this one that's exactly similar to yours is called space-saving computation of frequent and top K elements by Medwadi, Agarwal, and Abadi, published in ICD 2005, okay, ICDT 2005. This one just 3 years later, okay. This group of researchers from UC Santa Barbara, they just do a little revision on this algorithm. The revision was saying, originally they said that you only have the bucket size. You just need the bucket. Suppose I need the error rate is 1/1,000,000. I need a bucket size of 1,000,000. Okay, but nowadays the main memory become bigger and bigger, right? You say 1 megabytes main memory. Okay, it's nothing. You get anything. You get a phone like this. You say 1 megabytes. Probably everybody will take it. Everybody dump it. 1 megabyte is too small, right? But with this, they just make an assumption. So you can guarantee your error rate by 1 over your epsilon. Epsilon can be very small, but your memory can be even bigger, right? So suppose you have a bigger memory, you try to guarantee the best epsilon, then you can change this algorithm just by the size of your memory. You can allocate. Then they got another algorithm called space-saving computation of frequent top K elements in the data streams. Okay. It happens this paper, published in 2005. Last year, 2015, this paper get 10 years for this conference. This is the European Database Theory Conference. Get 10 years highest impact paper award. Okay, you're going to see just a change a little this algorithm, but it really works better, right? Because you have more memory. So that means your proposal actually somehow absorbed by this algorithm. That means you don't need every time deduce by 1, right? You try to allocate as much memory as you could. Then the more things come, you can just try to throw away something. Okay, so that's just the algorithm. But you can see it's still a very interesting one, right? Now you got Monwani, this algorithm. Now we look at actually in the same paper. That paper generate 2 competing algorithms. One is this lossy counting I introduced. This is another one. But another one, I don't have time to introduce it. But they also introduce lossy counting for frequent item sets. What is frequent item sets? That means they are not only count the single one, they count the pairs. Okay. That means suppose every time come is like a shopping basket. You have a bunch of things inside. That's quite often. You think about this. When you transform the documents across the internet, the documents is not single item. It contains many words and sentences or something. So you need to take item sets. That means a set of items. Okay. Once you get item sets, the bucket becomes more challenging. You think about this. This bucket is not holding a single item, but holding a set of items. Okay, you can see this one is one shopping basket, or you think about one document containing many keywords. Okay, this is one, this is another one, this is another one. So if this internet passing this data stream, it's like everyone's article. Okay, you can say this one has 5 items, this one has 2, this one has 4, this one has 3. They come in like a water. Okay. And now your algorithm is not trying to find a single item, but find a set of items. Okay. If you want to find a set of items, that means, for example, if you say now you come is a Trump, now it's a Donald Trump. Okay. So that you get a two item getting together, you want to register them. So you need more memory, you need a more sophisticated algorithm. Okay. So in that sense, you actually can see the algorithm just change a little. Okay. That means you can see now you put 3 buckets of data into the main memory, and every time you go down, you decrease the frequency count by 3, and you register their frequent item sets instead of single item. Okay. So I will not introduce you the detail, but just to say, by extension of the single item counting, you can easily extend to item set counting. Then you can derive another lossy counting algorithm for item sets. Okay, that's what they did also in the same paper. Okay, so that's the one I just say they got one paper. They introduced this lossy counting. It's very simple, but you have a good error guarantee. Okay, and also you can handle the item sets. Okay. So that's their algorithm. That's the extension. Actually, even in our campus, I got one student, one master student. He took this course. He worked with me. He just tried to extend this lossy counting to mining sequential patterns as data streams. That means you are not looking every time coming in is a single item, but it's a shopping sequence. Okay. Every time you come, it's a shopping sequence. Then how do finally counting this sequential pattern? That means you first buy this, then buy this. You're thinking that case. And he worked out a nice algorithm also published in ICDM conference in that year was in Pisa, Italy. And it's interesting because the time the paper got accepted, he already worked in Google. I told him whether he can go there because I have another paper. The student could not go, I had to go to Pisa anyway. And he said, actually, Google said they're going to pay it. The only condition is the author, because he's the first author, the author not only carry UIC, but also carry Google. Okay. Of course, we would love to put a Google name there as well. So we put it in. Then the Google actually pay him to Pisa to present the paper. Okay. Last time he came here to recruit more students, he already become a manager. He has been Google 8 years, I think. It's 2008. So now it's 2016. So it's 8 years in Google. But that's a mining sequential pattern. There are lots of people also working on this data stream algorithm. So I just recommend you, if you want to go deeper, you read these two papers. One is Monwani's paper, DRDB02. One is Metawali, that's a UCSB student paper, got an award, got a 10 years best paper award. Okay. So this is data stream mining. Okay. Of course, this is just mining frequent patterns. So this is another another stream, right? So let's look at another line. It's a stream classification. Okay. Stream classification means you have a classification model constructed. Okay. For example, when you see people doing online transactions, selling something or buying something, you want to say what kind of people will buy this, what kind of people will sell the other things. So you want to get a classification model. Okay. To get a model, because you have streams, the things coming, you have a limited memory, and the training data with the labels, they come so quick. You have to dynamically construct the model. Okay. Another problem is the model may change. Okay. For example, if you see like Apple, publish, say they release another phone. Okay. So whether this new phone people will buy or not buying. You want to construct a classification model. Say, what kind of people will buy this phone? But it's dynamic, okay, because you get a news. The news may say, some people say this phone is so great, but the other people say, oh, I found a bug or something. So with the different news coming, the model actually may change. Okay. So how can you dynamically adjust this in the data streams? You can say, now things are different. I have to change the model, okay, dynamically. You count the previous one, you count the new one. Then you combine them, you get a new model. So there are lots of problems handle this thing. Okay. Especially, okay, sometimes you want to find in the dynamic stream, it's not you want to find a model you want to sell or buy your iPhone. It's sometimes there's an intruder, okay, or anomaly they come. Okay. The intruder come, you want to catch it on the fly. You have to construct this intruder's model. And the intruder will change. Think about this. They got a block once, they're going to change. You have to dynamically change your model. So it's a very tricky problem. So those problems we call classification of dynamic data streams. Okay. And there are several very interesting algorithms. I'm going to give you a simple introduction. One is University of Washington professor Pedro Domingos, very fast decision tree, and also the concept of drifting, very fast decision tree. And we give you some other methods as well. Okay. Let's first look at the Domingos' first algorithm. This algorithm is called very fast decision tree. Okay. Very fast decision tree means you dynamically, based on your data stream, construct a decision tree. The tree, when you first get the data set, say whether you, for example, you want to check whether the protocol is HTTP or not. Okay. So what kind of a packets come is HTTP or is not. Okay. Suppose you want to check this. The data stream coming, you can see you have a packet. You try to see what is the decisive factor to determine whether it's HTTP or not. Okay. So you can see if the packet size is greater than 10, suppose you find it's always yes. It's not a 10, you find it's no. Okay. So you can, at the very beginning when the data stream coming, you can easily construct a pretty shallow tree like this. But later, you find things are not so simple. Okay. The new stream coming, you may find actually the packet size is greater than 10. It's not a decisive factor. There are some more things. Okay. Like a packet size greater than 10. If it's not greater than 10, it is HTTP protocol. But this yes becomes splitting factor. That means you have to look at another factor. Another factor is whether bytes is greater than 60K. If it's greater, no, it is HTTP. It's FTP. If it's not greater, it's another one. So your decision tree actually starts growing. Okay. So the very fast decision tree, the general philosophy is they based on the Hefting bounding principle. Okay, they try to classify based on the high probability. They try to build this tree based on this bound. Okay. And they claim this bound actually is very good at constructing the trees. Okay. But the paper they published in 2000, they immediately found actually things are not so simple. In 2001, they give us another algorithm based on this one. They say concept drifting. The reason is this: when the data stream coming, you can construct a tree. You can say this tree is good for classification. Okay. But after a little while, the things coming more, the original tree may not work anymore. May not work well anymore. you have to think about throw away this tree to get a new tree. Okay, so that means things are changing. So they want to handle concept drifts. Concept drifts means originally you build this tree, it works for old data. Okay, but things are changing. Your tree may not fit the new coming data anymore. The tree has to be modified. Sometimes the tree has to be thrown away to get a different tree. The problem is you have a limited memory and the things are coming dynamically. How can you dynamically changing the tree? Okay. So the general philosophy, I did not put the picture there, but the general philosophy is this. Okay. General philosophy is they keep the current tree, then they dynamically construct an alternative tree they call shadow tree at every node. That means you look at this tree, the real tree, of course, is much bigger. Okay. That means that currently you say this is the current tree. I use it for judgment. But things may change. For example, your iPhone, they just announced you construct a tree. Later, people got comments or people find bugs or finding something. So they give you a different thing. The tree may change. The tree may change. What they do is they say, the current tree I want to patch. In the meantime, I construct a shadow tree. That means that tree is going to replace this one, okay, if things get even worse. Okay. If you want to replace the one, what they do is they keep using both trees. One the current tree, one is the shadow tree. They're going to do the testing on the new labor data to see which tree is better. Okay. And if the shadow one is better, they're going to swap it. Say, now this is the real tree. The other one becomes shadow tree. Okay. Actually, at every node, they try to construct a shadow. Not only just on the root, on every node they construct a shadow. Okay. Because at every splitting point, things may change. They want to change as well. Okay. So that's their very fast decision tree ideas. Okay. And actually, Pedro Domingo got, I think 2 years ago, got the KDD Innovation Award. He did a lot of other contribution. But this important contribution on the decision, on the data stream, decision tree construction is quite famous, got very popularly cited. Okay. But actually, this one published in 2001. In 2002, I actually went to IBM. These several people are IBM people. I discussed with them on this Pedro Domingo's algorithm. We say constructing shadow tree actually needs a lot of effort. And plus, anybody knows when things are changing, your original tree very unlikely will be a good tree. You think about a decision tree as a splitting. At the very beginning, you pick up one attribute and certain value to decide how to split the first branch, then split the second branch. But if things are changing, your very first selection could be wrong. That means the tree not only wrong at the leaves, but it could be wrong at the very root. Everything could go wrong. So why you have to keep a shadow tree? It's so complicated algorithm. So I actually discussed with these several people. These several people, they actually discussed with me. They work out a very different one. They call this one is ensemble idea for classification. Ensemble idea means forget the tree. For the data coming, you construct multiple classifiers. Even with the timestamp, you get multiple classifiers. Remember, everybody knows for classification, one single model may not be good. If you get a multiple model, it will be better. Then, when the new thing's coming, you build a newer classifier. So these multiple classifiers can ensemble. That means can always say they have different weights. The new one, if they are really good, they may have more weights. The old one may fade out. So it's a very natural process. So we actually constructed this one we call concept drifting data stream using ensemble classifier. We actually show it's much better than that tree. You store multiple shadows because the shadow, actually the very beginning shadow could go wrong. The root shadow could go wrong. Right? So you use ensemble. You keep the different timestamps, and you throw away the old one. You put more weights on the new one. It's very natural, very easy to implement. Yes. It's we actually do not really throw away. We just put the lower weights on it. Of course, if it keeps getting very low weights, you can drop them. Okay. So that's a basic design because things may change. Like you think about Donald Trump, right? So at a different time, you actually have a different model to model it. But some very old time may not be valid anymore. You can drop it. You just use newer model to model it. You probably can get a better prediction, right? So those things are always changing. So that's basically is a classifier. But the classifier, there are many different ways to do it. I will introduce more seriously. So just one piece of work, which I really like it, is our previous PhD student, Jing Gao. She did just try to detect some anomaly, some alarming things in a very tilted stream. That means alarming things is already become very rare. Okay. And she wants to dynamically capture this in the data stream and do the right classification. Okay. And that algorithm is very smart. I'm going to introduce that algorithm. And she now is a professor in University of Buffalo. Okay. So I better first just show you the picture. Okay. The picture looks like this. You have lots of data streams coming. Okay. So you think about it. You have, if you think of the time, you can think in this. This S1 is the earliest one. Then you come S2, you come SM. You may want to predict Sm plus 1, where is the anomaly? Okay. Now you can see the S1. You may have a small part we call the anomalous part. For example, you're just thinking about intrusion or a bank, you have a fraudulent or something, right? So these are the anomalies. The remaining one is the normal one. Okay. It simply says if you have anomaly detection algorithm, this is the part you will show is positive. That means this is anomaly. This is not. This is the normal one, majority part. Okay. So every timestamp you come, you will have this kind of data. Okay. Now the task is you try to dynamically construct a classifier. Then at the time m plus 1, you are going to correctly identify the anomaly. Say this is the anomaly. Okay, so that's a requirement. Can you do this with a very limited memory, with very small number of anomalies? Can you construct the right model? Okay, you can think about it. I just give you this task. You think about it, how to do it. Anybody can think about a smart algorithm. The first thing is you have very limited memory. You cannot store everything. Okay. But we know the anomaly, like this positive number, positive labor data, are very small set, but they are very valuable. You think about it. If you try to see who break the wall, who steal the bank. Okay. Those are the information, very small but very valuable. Even you have a limited memory, you don't want to throw them away, right? So what she did is this. Okay. Her proposal is saying, because your negative data, or you say normal data, is very big, you can throw away all of them. Okay. But your positive data is very small, but you want to keep everyone. Okay. What she did is every time except the last one, she will keep throwing away the majority negative labor data because these are normal transactions. Okay. She will keep every piece of the positive labor data. These are the intruders or the anomalies. She will keep this. Okay. Then what she will do? She will dynamically construct at every point, because you want to predict the next one. At every point, she will dynamically construct by merging all these anomalies into a big chunk. Okay. Once she merged into a bigger chunk, the situation may become like this. This part is the merge of all previous anomaly data, including the current one. These are all the benign transactions or normal transactions. Okay. Even you look at this, you merge so many anomaly data, this is still minority. This is the majority, right? And even you take this, you try to construct a classifier, it's still not good. Because the positive data, the anomaly data is still minority, maybe 10%. Okay. The 90% is still the normal transactions. It's still biased. And what she did? She did it, it's very simple. She says, according to the size of this one, I partition this part into, like suppose this one is 10%, this is 90%. What did she did? Is she take this, chop into this part, chop into k equal number of the anomaly part. Then you got a k training data. This one repeated many times. This one is a sample from each one of these is sample k times. Okay. Then for each one, you can construct a classifier. Now you have a k classifier. You can take a vote. You can take ensemble. Is that clear? Okay. So now I started this story at the beginning. Okay, then hopefully everybody will be able to take it. Okay. The story is this. The best classifier to be constructed is positive and negative data is reasonably balanced. Okay. That means if I have 50 positive case, I have a 50 negative case, likely I will construct a balanced classifier. Okay. That's the first point. The second point is, if you have multiple classifiers, you vote, this ensemble always give you better suggestion rather than single classifier. Right? That's called ensemble. So you have two principles. One is a balanced, another is ensemble. So she wants to just use these two principles to handle this data streams. Okay. And it's very simple. It's every valuable positive piece of the data, like intruders, you are going to collect them. You don't throw them away. Okay. This one will be used if you have a k ensemble classifier, this one will be used or duplicate k times. Okay. That means bad guy, I duplicate them k times. Then for good guy, they are so big population, I partition them into k times. Then I construct a k balanced classifier. Then I can do very good, classification construction. And this is a data stream because you don't keep the previous majority good data. You throw them away. You only look at the last one. Is that clear? Okay, that's her design. And she actually did an experiment to show this one. You need a very small amount of memory. And it's also very fast because everyone is small. And it's very accurate because you are doing ensemble. Okay. So that's her algorithm. I probably go back and just show you her general philosophy. Okay. That means she wants to classify data streams with skewed distribution. Skewed distribution means the alarming things, intruders, a very small number. Okay. The majority data actually is good. Okay. So she wanted to capture those fraud. And what she did is she said biased sampling and ensemble. Biased sampling means you put more emphasis on the intruders, on the anomalies. The sample is very biased. The other sample is 100%. This one is just several percent, right? So she basically shows she has this error rate computation by integral of all the probabilities. Okay. Then that picture actually shows biased sampling because the positive example you use all the time, and negative example you only do the sparser sampling. Okay. Then you ensemble them. Then you probably see her experiments on the data. She basically show this is on the synthetic data. This is on the real data sets. She shows her, no matter what method she is using, this biased sampling and ensemble, using this basically sampling plus ensemble, get the smallest error rate. That means it's most accurate model. And also the time is very small as well. You can see the time you used is the smallest because you only need a very small memory to hold those anomaly data. And finally, you construct a classifier. You just each one is very small because even all the negative data you are not using, just use something, similar to the small anomaly ones. So that's the reason she basically showed the training time is very small. The memory, the resource you need is very small. Okay. So that's a one pretty interesting algorithm has been, popularly cited. Okay, so now I come down to the very last one for stream data is clustering. Okay, stream cluster analysis. This one was, I also will mainly introduce our algorithm, which was done with IBM Watson, okay, the Sharagor, Philip their group on this. But I first still introduce you Modawani's algorithm. Modawani's algorithm is a stream data algorithm for high quality clustering. They give an example called K-median. You try to use K-median method to do clustering. Okay. I will show you what they are doing. Okay. What they are doing is this. You got lots of data as a data stream coming in. You try to get a K clusters. Okay. Remember, the data come, you get a K clusters. Suppose the first batch of data come. You can use a typical K-means or K-median algorithm. You can get a K clusters. Okay. First I should ask everybody, how many people do not know clustering? How many people know K-means algorithm? How many know K-means algorithm? I think the majority of people know, so that's better. Okay. K-means and K-median are just brother algorithms. Okay. K-means, I probably have to give you a little explanation before, otherwise some people did not raise their hands to get lost. K-means algorithm, if you take CS412, I believe you should know K-means, right? K-means means you try to get a K clusters. Okay. How do you get a K cluster? You give me the points, you give me n points, I try to get a K clusters. How get a K clusters? At the very beginning, you can randomly just pick up K clusters. Okay, for those endpoints, you form K clusters. The very beginning is random, but then you use K-means. Means you compute based on the means, you compute the cluster center. Okay. Once you compute the center, you're going to readjust all the members. Because things are closer to your center, you say, that's mine. Okay. Things are far away from your center but close to the other center, you say, that's theirs. Okay. So that means the very beginning, the first iteration, you say, I re-evaluate the numbers. I readjust my cluster center. Okay. After you do multiple rounds, when things become stable, you'll get a very good K clusters based on these means. Okay. So that's a K-means algorithm. K-median is the same. The only difference is you are not evaluating K-means. Mean means average. Median, everybody knows median, right? You sort things, you pick up the center number, that's the median. Okay. So K-median means you evaluate the median, you just keep the median. Okay. Then now you get data streams. Data stream means since they're coming, the next batch will be coming again. Okay. You take the first batch, you compute the K-median points. Then the interesting thing is you don't keep the data. You throw away all the data sets. Only keep this K-mean points. You get a next round come. How you do it? The next round come, you are going to say, oh, those points are close to me. They belong to me. Okay. And once they belong to you, you have to adjust your mean points, right? You adjust the mean points, then you get a new points. You actually, because your mean points changed, and next round you will throw away some far away one, you get a near one. So after a certain iteration becomes stable, you get a new point. How many data sets you need to keep? You just need to keep these K-mean points plus all the current batch data. Right? That's what their algorithm. Is that clear? That means you don't need to keep much data. You just need to keep these K-mean points. The only difference is these K-mean points, you have to carry a weight. Otherwise, you're going to be very wrong, right? Because this K-mean points is not single point anymore. If you originally have 1,000 points, these K-mean points carry 1,000 weight. That means next time you come 100 points, you know this mean is not simple mean. It's formed by previous 1,000 points to get this mean, right? So you need this quantity number. That's it. Then the remaining algorithm become very simple. So that's his K-median stream data algorithm. Is that clear? Okay. Now I come down to the new algorithm. Okay. The new algorithm, first, I can give you a simple analogy. You'll probably see why we need a new algorithm. Just thinking about this, okay. Suppose you want to cluster U.S., the whole U.S. into, say, 10 centers. But the U.S. population also keep coming dynamically. You think about it as, okay, 1950s the population and 2000 population, 2016 population will be different, right? So since every year the population is different, you can think about your K-mean, this is your K-median algorithm, you will be able to get it. Okay. But there's one problem. You can think about this, okay. Suppose you want to get 10 centers, maybe Chicago is a center, because there are lots of population, right? But suppose Champaign found some big gold or some get another Google or something, get lots of people coming. Okay. Remember, the people coming, Rome was not built in one day. Okay, the Champaign, even finally bigger than Chicago, it's not built in one day. Okay, every time you will come, somebody will come. Okay, but the problem is, you did not keep the previous year's data. You throw them away, you only keep the mean. Okay. You keep the mean. Because you throw away the previous data, you do not know anything about previous data. You only keep this Midwest, the center is Chicago, you get, say, 20 million people there, okay? Actually, they take Champaign's population also get into the center, right? Because there's a Champaign, there's a Madison, there's a Milwaukee, all the things finally get into the center. Okay. But you throw away all the data, you do not know the distribution anymore. So suppose every year Champagne grows something. Okay. Then, unfortunately, Champagne will lose the identity. The reason was every year Champagne grow a lot of people. They will contribute to this new center. The center maybe shift down Chicago a little, but still Chicago center. Okay, the K means you want 10 million, the median is still in Chicago. So even finally Champagne becomes 10 times bigger than Chicago, you will not show up. Why? Because every year you get a new population. You will just get into the center, right? So you will not get a new center come out. So that's a problem for this one because you lose the identity. You don't keep the original information. You only keep this K-means. Okay? That's too rough. Okay. So based on this philosophy, we try to work out a much subtle clustering algorithm called cluststream. Okay. Cluststream actually will have three philosophy or three ideas. One we call tilted time framework. That means you do need to register time. You cannot say I throw away all the data. I need to register time. So then I will be able to compare the evolution. For example, 1950s and 2000, how different they are. You know, even you just have a data cluster, you're going to show. You are going to be able to compare. Okay. Another idea is microclustering. That means you should not merge to Chicago so quickly. You keep the microclusters. You keep a little more data. You keep the microclusters. Before people finally say, I just want a K, I give you a K. Otherwise, I have something pretty bigger than K. I keep the local ones. That means the local cluster will be visible. Okay. If you have this idea, you think about it. If finally Champagne grow bigger than Chicago, Champagne could be an independent center, right? Because you keep the microclusters. Only when needed, you're going to merge. If it's not needed, there will be another center, right? So that's the general philosophy. I'm in the next lecture, before we get into a new one, I'm going to introduce you full of this clustering algorithm. It has been used very popularly. Okay. So it got a very high citations for this paper as well. Okay. So just to warn you, everyone, you probably know today is Tuesday. By Sunday is your due date for your survey. Make sure you get it on time. Okay. Thank you.